Hi, I'm Casey Erickson. As you know, I'm a member of our management here at MDM Rubicon. We provide supports and services to the developmentally disabled in community residential settings, providing home and community-based services to them. I'm going to be doing a little bit of a proposal presentation on assistive technology that could further our mission and values within our organization. As we know, we serve the developmentally disabled individuals living in community residential settings, whether it be in our group homes, in apartment settings, or in home health care services. Our main goal is to provide efficiency when it comes to community integration and independent living. The purpose of assistive technology has a couple different factors: providing greater independence in the home and providing relief to caregivers. Providing greater independence in the home means to provide more opportunities for areas of independent living skills, and that includes in the area of cooking, self-care, hygiene, unsupervised time, and providing themselves the care that they need in the most independent and less restrictive environment. Also, providing greater independence in the home means increasing their level of privacy within their own setting. This may include having the ability to have visitors over and being able to communicate on the telephone or on the internet, open their own mail independently as possible. As I stated, the other purpose of this technology is to provide relief to our organization and the caregivers that we employ. One interesting fact is to note that in Minnesota, there are over 5,000 different community residential setting placements in Minnesota. That's over 5,000 different settings that house the developmentally disabled. That is a lot of staff, and that is a lot of consumers. There are many different advantages to the use of assistive technology. First one is that it can be covered under the developmentally disabled waiver and the elderly waiver. As we know, all of our service recipients and consumers that we provide services to come to us with a waiver, whether it be the developmentally disabled, community alternatives for developmental individuals, or the elderly waiver, or we even have some traumatic brain injury waivers. Not all waivers will cover this assistive technology. One other benefit and advantage of this service is that it is sanctioned by the Department of Human Services, meaning that there are certain brands, one of the brands being Sengistics, which I will get to here in a little bit, is sanctioned by the Department of Human Services in the fact that the services and the technology they provide meets all the regulations and is in compliance with Rule 245D as well as Center for Medicaid Services. Another advantage is it does save money in the long term. If we have our service recipients use this assistive technology, it will provide a benefit to us in the area of cost savings in employee turnover and employee training. It will also save on human resource capital, as well as it will add privacy and more opportunities for independent living for the consumer. The disadvantages of this service. We have to make sure that we are considering the disadvantages. Now, of course, with any technology, there are going to be a lot of disadvantages that could sway an organization away from using the technology. This could include when it comes to startup costs, the security and safety, the vulnerability for exploitation, breach of privacy, and simple malfunction of technology. With careful consideration, implementation, and proper maintenance, we should be able to make the best use of this product. First, if we look at the startup costs, it's going to cost the service recipient, mostly when it comes to money, in the fact that they will have to either pay for this with their waiver money or increase funding for their supports and services, or they may have to pay out of pocket depending on the level of their functioning. If we can get some of our higher functioning services that we have majority of our houses are higher functioning in the fact that most of them are able to do things independently. Most of them do not necessarily need overnight staff support, whether it be sleeping or awake. They're able to live their lives, and they need minimal supports when it comes to cooking, hygiene, prompting and reminders to take medications, and similar activities of daily living. That being said, majority of our consumers will probably qualify for this type of service because they are high functioning. Startup costs, we touched on that. Security and safety. With any sort of technology that we employ to enhance our supports and services, there's always going to be that security and safety feature we need to meet. With any technology out there right now, there's always risk for hackers and breach of privacy. With one current risk that's associated with technology these days is ransomware. Now, again, that normally affects things like servers and databases where they store certain things, and mainly it happens on servers. But what ransomware is it's one example of a malicious software that can penetrate the technology and hold it captive until payment is given to the person who's hacking, the hacker, the person who is employing the ransomware. Now, of course, the supports, the assistive technology that we're talking about here, which I'll get to here in just a few minutes, is not really database or server oriented. It's more of sensors and video cameras, recordings, those kinds of things, not necessarily housing that much data that could be exploited. Speaking of exploitation, there is that vulnerability for exploitation when it comes to these services, which I'll get to again in a minute. But the biggest risk that we face is the malfunction of the technology itself. With any technology, it could break down, it could get corrupted, it could just simply stop working at any time. And as I stated, careful consideration, implementation, and the most important thing is maintenance. When we employ such assistive technologies, we're going to want to have some policies, procedures, and systems surrounding this use of technology to help prevent the disadvantages and security and safety issues associated with this. Now, applicable regulations. Now, there are a lot of applicable regulations in this field, particularly when it comes to providing support and services in a community-based residential setting. And that goes the same. That holds true with when you have caregivers and when you have remote monitoring support, such as assistive technology. The main governors of all of these regulations include the Department of Human Services, their standards and regulations, which inclusively is the Rule 245D, which I'll get into more in a minute, the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services, involving the recent Center for Medicaid Services attestation that we were required to attest to as a provider. And then our lead agencies, which is the counties and their applicable regulations, and then there are obvious blanket privacy standards that we must follow. Going back to Rule 245D, that is the rule that is governed by the Department of Human Services. 245D basically is the governing rule that affects all of our paperwork and standards of our operation. Basically, the gist of it is ultimately every individual that we serve, each service recipient or consumer, has the right to be as person-centered, to have services and supports that are person-centered as possible, meaning that they are in control and they are able to self-manage as much as they are capable of by themselves. The Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services and the attestation we had to abide by as a provider basically met the standards of everybody has the ability to maintain privacy and have the ability to again, it really piggybacks off of the Rule 245D, maintaining control in their lives, maintaining as much person-centeredness as possible, and of course, the less restrictive environment and privacy is at the forefront. Strategic uses. So this is where I'm going to talk briefly on what kind of assistive technologies are out there. Syngistics, as you can see on the right-hand side of this slide, Syngistics is all about people and technology working together. It's a strategic use to provide a supplement to the caregivers in the home. One of their products is Secure Environment Network Support. And this operates through the use of sensors throughout the home. They have sensors on the ovens, they can have a kitchen sink, they can have monitors for people walking around in the home, front doors, bedroom doors, beds, wheelchairs, anything that we can see off-site in a central hub that notifies us when something's occurring. Medication administration. There are sensors attached to a medication drawer. If a consumer opens it up, we know that they're accessing their meds, and that's logged in our database so we can see that. And that way they don't need a staff there to remind them to take their medications. If they're able to do it independently, they should be able to do that. And as long as we know they took it, the medications were accessed by that person in that time, that should be sufficient enough. And then home unsupervised time. With the ability of having these sensors and assistive technology in the home, it gives them more of a control of their own lives to maintain and be as independent as possible in the home without that nuisance staff being in their home. This is especially prevalent with overnights. There's not necessarily a need for somebody who's high functioning to have somebody sleep over at their house every single night. So they don't necessarily need 24-hour on-site staffing support. Another strategic use, of course, is to save money on caregivers and human resources, employee turnover, employee training. Now, as I mentioned, the main part of this is the Secure Environment Network Support. So there's sensors and monitors, whatever kind of technology you want to use to make their lives be as independent as possible, while we have maybe a team, maybe a 4-person team off-site in the central hub monitoring these things for multiple houses around the area. And perhaps we employ the use of an on-call staff, for instance, if something goes awry or something is out of the usual or out of the normal in one of these homes, and one of our remote monitor specialists catches this, we can call the on-call direct care staff or caregiver, and they can run over there and assist as needed, but not necessarily stay overnight if needed. The impact on the delivery of healthcare. As mentioned, it's all about efficiency and consumer or service recipient benefits. The ability to save on time, to save on human resources, and to save on costs. Now that's what's going to give it to our organization. In a saturated market of direct care, direct support professional ads that we have, and our turnover rates 35 to 40%, that's not very good. We're not retaining a lot of employees in a saturated market where there's not a lot of direct caregivers, not even a lot of workers out there. There's more jobs than there are workers, let's put it that. And then consumer benefits, independence, community integration, and maintaining and retaining that dignity and respect. Now, before I go into my thank you note here, I just wanted to let you know that this is a great opportunity for us to really delve into this. This is a trending technology that could really help us when it comes to retaining staff and our turnover rates, and save on money when it comes to training and turnover. I mean, the average cost of turning somebody over is anywhere between $2,000 and $5,000 just to turn somebody over and retrain somebody. That's a lot of money that we could be putting to good use. So in the end, I just want to thank you for allowing me to propose this unique and new trend to the organization. Assistive technology in group homes and support departments is the future of caregiving for the high-functioning disabled that needs the support and services without the human caregiver. Thank you.